always. Ash Edwards joins us, President and CEO, Gulf Coast Business Council. Good morning, Ash. How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Hey,
everything
Paul,
okay?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thank you.
Reading the headlines here, it says the state's largest tourism bureau is once again caught in the crosshairs of infighting by members of the Harrison County Board of Supervisors. And I read this whole article and I thought, you know where you guys they ought to hold their meetings, or in the Gulf Hills Hotel. You know, the hotel that was the home of the Mafia and Elvis and other people. I've been to the hotel. It's very, very historic. But tell me exactly what is going on now and what the crux of the problem happens to be.
Well, this is an issue that's existed for some time. We've had quite a bit of turnover as it relates to that particular organization. You know, giving you some long history on it, it's actually something the Gulf Coast Business Council first led the effort to create a number of years ago. After Hurricane Katrina, and then certainly after the oil spill, we realized we were going to have the opportunity to do a lot of regional marketing, especially with some of the resources that came as a result of the oil spill, and we wanted to regionalize it. You know, folks that are looking at regions to visit aren't necessarily looking at individual cities and counties. They're looking at a whole area. And the way we had done it historically on the coast is, you know, Jackson County marketed Jackson County and Harrison County marketed Harrison County. And for the first time in the history of the coast, the three coast counties came together to create a regional tourism partnership. And it's been a difficult road since then. Most specifically, what's happened in recent times is that there's been a little bit of a battle among some of the Harrison County representatives on the board and the president of the board, someone who really worked very hard to try to keep the regional effort together. About 6 months ago, after the departure of the most recent executive director, she was not reappointed to her seat by a split vote of the Harrison County Board of Supervisors. And so that's essentially what's been going on here in the last few weeks. And
was she not appointed? Was it unexpected, or did she want to be reappointed? Or
yeah, she wanted to be reappointed to the board. The charges that have been levied by some Harrison County supervisors towards others is that essentially there's a bit of a vote stacking going on, such that this particular president had gone against the wishes of a few of the powerful board members from Harrison County, and as a result of that was unceremoniously pulled off the board, essentially. You know, it's really not played out yet, Paul. There's still an opportunity for a Attorney General's opinion that the Harrison County Board of Supervisors has asked for. But, you know, from a 30,000-foot level, the reason that this is really important is, you know, we are the largest tourism organization in the state of Mississippi, certainly our largest tourist region in the state of Mississippi. And this is something we can't afford to get wrong on the coast. And so the business community has been extremely interested in what's going on here because, you know, tourism marketing, destination marketing is the front door to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's the way that people really learn about our area. And tourism has been one of our leading economic drivers, especially across the pandemic. We performed so much better in visitation during the pandemic than anyone thought that we would have. The economy's been very strong. And so
let me ask you this. Is there a benefit in having that teamwork? I mean, a viable, reportable benefit, or all three of you working together, than having each individual county do this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you know, there's no question that the campaigns of marketing the coast as a whole have been much more effective. And, you know, the Tourism Bureau itself, over the years of its existence, since it was created after the oil spill, has kept track of the visitation that we've had, the number of room nights that it's generated, you know, partnerships with things like Expedia, you know, the different travel websites that get you here. There's no question that it has been a benefit to the coast as a whole to have this effort in place.
Is it equal as far as the representation from the three counties? It sounds like that Harrison County is the big gun here. They've got more votes. If that's the way it was set up, that inequality has got to be the problem there. But, I mean, first of all, if you've got somebody who's got the power here, then how do you get into some type of fair representation? And is this always going to be a problem? Speak to that, because you said something looking at the 30,000-foot level. To be honest with you, Ash, if you're inland outside the three coastal counties, we are all looking at this from the Tennessee line all the way down to the coast from that 30,000-foot level. Why can't you guys work this out on some equitable way, that there is some equity in the votes there, some equality in the votes?
Well, Harrison County really wanted to maintain, its level of power on that commission, given that they are the primary generator of tourism dollars and tourism revenue on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Certainly, Harrison County is where the cluster of casino resorts are located, to a lesser extent in Hancock County. But Paul, I mean, I think you've hit on really the key issue here, and I think it's worth saying this has really been an issue among a couple of supervisors who have had some differences of opinion in their appointments as it relates to the function of the organization. Hancock and Jackson County, and as we all know, the coast has not traditionally worked really well together from a cooperation standpoint. And Harrison and Jackson County and Hancock County have really worked very well together on this historically, but these issues of equity and representation have continued to kind of rear their head. So the hope here is that at the end of the day, this will cause our legislative delegation on the coast to look at some potential legislative fixes in the upcoming legislative session. For example, one of the proposals that was given by a former tourism commissioner was, in lieu of having just the county boards of supervisors appoint these members of the commission, why not have each city along the coast have their own appointment, which is something that's obviously very popular with the mayors and would result in the same number of members on the board as there is currently. And so, I think there are certainly some opportunities to do a little bit better in terms of equity and representation here. But the most important thing in the short term is to have some stability there. We've had tremendous turnover, staff, tourism commissioners, executive directors, and really the key right now is to stop the bleeding. The agency has done a good job. They've got good professional staff there, and there's no question they're moving the needle. Problem, as with all things, is when politics gets involved and you start to get all these extracurricular activities that fall outside the scope of actual destination marketing.
Yeah. Two questions. Number one, are there some PPP funds that they are in charge of, number one? And number two, what is it exactly that you want the AG to rule on?
Well, so the AG opinion was requested by the Board of Supervisors, and the question specifically was to the appointments in Harrison County, whether or not a supervisor can appoint someone who lives outside of their supervisor's district. And that's sort of a little bit of an inside baseball in the way that the jockeying has gone for these appointments. So, that's more of a technical question, should be answered relatively quickly. From a long-term standpoint, what we really want to see here is ultimately let's get the business community more involved in the representation on this organization and the governance. Let's make sure that we've got our gaming industry involved and giving input into what's going on. Let's stabilize the organization such that professional staff stay in place, such that the experts that have been hired to do the work can do the work without interference directly from board members who may be bringing their own agenda to the table. And ultimately, let's get back to work marketing our coast.
You're a financial guy. Let me ask you on the financial part of this. What do you see as far as the economy is concerned? Not only for the Gulf Coast, but for the entire country here. It just looks like we're one news story away from a pretty hard recession.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly some storm clouds of recession that are starting to get closer and closer, and there's no question about that. I mean, things have been very strong on the coast. The jobs report was great from last month, but, of course, for the market, that's more of a marker of, hey, inflation could continue. And so, we've seen some downward trends in the market as a result of that. But from a long-term perspective, certainly there's some things to be concerned about.
Always good talking to you, sir, and I thank you for joining us. Ash Edwards from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, President and CEO of the Gulf Coast Business Council.